Hi, Kelly. We are live. Okay.
Hey, yeah, sorry, I was waiting for Zoom to start for a couple of minutes there.
Okay. It's fine. It's fine. Okie dokie. So, we are live. Hello, Kelly. How are you?
I'm well. How are you, Nanji?
I'm good. I'm good. We didn't have, just for the viewers, we didn't have any like 5 minutes before had live streaming. We just went ahead and live streamed. So we are just getting ready. And today we're going to talk about getting double certified by NBCMI and CCHI. So the way that is going to work is that first I'm going to give everyone an overview about NBCMI and CCHI. Then I'm going to ask Kelly some questions about her experience getting certified with NBCMI and CCHI. And then I'm going to give you, I'm going to build on what Kelly says to give you also my experience, because Kelly and I got certified like together, in a sense, in the same. Let me just very quickly get my notes in here. So let's talk about a little bit about NBCMI and CCHI. So NBCMI and CCHI are the certifying agencies for medical interpreters in the United States. So they test, when you become an NBCMI or CCHI interpreter, it means that you pass the practice. Of course, is very focused on medical interpretation in the United States. So some prerequisites for the NBCMI and CCHI exam is that you need to be, of course, proficient in English and your other language. You need to have at least 40 hours of medical interpretation training, either by a college degree or college courses, or the typical 40 hours, 100-hour courses, etc. And then that I think those are the most important requisites. Oh, you have to be over 18 years of age also to become an NBCMI and CCHI interpreter. So the languages in which the NBCMI and CCHI certification is available is for NBCMI. For their oral exam, they have Spanish, Cantonese, Mandarin, Russian, Korean, and Vietnamese. And for CCHI, they have Spanish, Arabic, and Mandarin. For all the other languages, there is no, for which there is no oral exam available. It means that they only take the written exam. Okay, so that was our brief overview. So now let's talk about, let's ask some questions to Kelly so she can talk. Okay, so let's see, Kelly, can you tell me why did you decide to get CCHI certified, having an NBCMI certification?
So, COVID's been really tough. I've seen a lot of changes in the language services industry, and I've definitely seen, unfortunately, it's kind of like the bar is being lowered. And so just kind of in response to that, instead of, kind of giving in and letting that happen, I wanted to say, you know what? I'm still as committed as ever to this field. I still am absolutely in love with medical interpretation. And you know what? I want to show the world that, hey, being certified, that having a second certification offered, but just also kind of like showing the world like, hey, like there are people out here who are really serious about medical interpretation. We don't need to be lowering the bar. We need to be raising it. So that was really why I did it. What about you, Nanji?
Okay, that's very good. I really like that that perspective. For me, is in a way it was to prove myself that I was able to do it, that I'm able to get two certifications. So there are many different reasons. So I'll try to keep it short. The first reason is that I'm on a personal quest to obtain as many certifications as possible. And I always say a joke about this, like I'm catching certification like Pokemon. So the more certifications I have, the merrier I am. That's one reason. Another reason is because I'm a teacher and I teach people who are going to take NBCMI, who are going to take CCHI. It could be either or depending on their language pair. So I want to be able to teach them knowing what they are going to be tested on in the exam. Even if NBCMI and CCHI are in theory the same thing. They have their differences, which we're going to cover in the next question. And that was another reason why I wanted to do it. And also because it looks good for prospective employers, people who want to hire me. It looks more professional, like you mentioned, Kelly. We want to raise the bar, right? That is not only one certification and it's done, it's over, but we can like keep moving forward, keep getting better, keep showing that we improve our skills, etc. So that's pretty much my reason why. So question number 2, Kelly. What were the differences for you personally between NBCMI and CCHI?
So this one's really hard for me because I took my NBCMI exams back in 2018. I was a very different person then, very different place in my career. I would say for me, probably the biggest difference is I have social anxiety. So it's really, really hard for me to perform in to me, who was another medical interpreter. And that was a little intimidating, especially someone who was really well known in my area. So it just added to the pressure of the exam. And CCHI, I was in my own room by myself. It wasn't as intimidating. And also what was less intimidating for me was the fact that I'm already an experienced medical interpreter. So it just, in terms of anxiety levels, I was definitely way less anxious with the CCHI exam than the NBCMI exam. I do feel that the NBCMI exam was focused more on medical terminology and medical specialties, whereas CCHI was focused more on like ethics and standards of practice and things like that, and especially in terms of the written exam, which I think is good. I think you need both things to be a well-rounded medical interpreter. You need to have really good command of your ability to engage in the ethical decision-making process. You need to know your standards. You need to know how to handle different situations, but you also need to know that medical terminology. So I really feel like having both certifications now kind of proves like, okay, I'm well-rounded in all of these areas, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, you mentioned something very important, that was that one of them focuses more on the ethical part of interpretation and other is more the technical part of interpretation. And I think it's good to have both because, like you said, you prove like you are a well-rounded interpreter. So that's exactly what I think. And I also found it interesting that you mentioned the test anxiety, because in my case, I took NBCMI completely remotely. NBCMI, the written and the oral was remote. But for CCHI, the written was remote and the oral was in person. So I wasn't particularly like terrified about doing it in person because I kind of had my own room. And I was alone in this little cubicle, like it's a very small room.
So was I.
But, yeah.
So was I, yeah. Well, and another thing too is I had technical issues with both exams, both oral exams. And no, excuse me, and with the with the CCHI written exam, I had some technical issues as well. So it was really interesting to me that, you just kind of have to figure out how to manage and cope with technical issues kind of on the fly. You may not always have someone there in the room with you as the issue's happening, which makes it really difficult. But, that's part of being an interpreter, is being able to handle, kind of surprise situations as they present themselves to you. So.
Yeah, I also had technical issues with the NBCMI, the oral portion. I had technical issues and I was pretty upset about it because I kind of missed some questions and it just threw me off completely. And I didn't perform as well as I could because I was already angry and upset. It didn't allow me to focus, to concentrate. And also, another difference that I just took notes of here is that in the CCHI exam, they have like you interpret for children, right? They have a child. I'm sorry, they had a child in one of these scenarios.
This is in the practice exam as well.
Yes, and the
voice of the child. This is all publicly available information. So we're just want to make sure that everyone knows that we're not giving like inside information about the test and things like that.
Okay, sure. That's a very good point. So the thing that I wanted to mention is that I was supposed to be interpreting for a child, but they had an adult voice, and I was like, what? It was confusing to me. Also CCHI. I don't know if I should say this or not, but I guess it's just part of the exam and it's not very specific. In CCHI, they give you a small brief, like what are you going to interpret for? They tell you if it's going to be about audiology, emergency, pediatrics, etc. In NBCMI, they don't give you that. You just right after the other, you are interpreting. And it may not make a lot of sense to you because you haven't taken the exam, but I believe, let me see, how can I phrase this in a way that we can make the most of our time, because there are many differences to cover. So for example, from the technical aspect, CCHI allows you to hear the question or the original utterance, and then you click play or record, and then you record your answer. But so you have a moment to pause to gather your thoughts, and it can be as long as you want, right? Which is like a double-edged sword, because for NBCMI, they give you like, you hear the utterance, they give you 5 seconds, and in those 5 seconds, you need to decide, do I need a repeat? Or am I going to like interpret right away?
Don't you only get like a certain number of repetitions? It's been a while since I've taken the NBCMI exam. And so I know you have like a limit to how many repetitions you could take, whereas the CCHI exam has like, you have a period of time to complete the whole oral portion. And it's up to you to kind of manage your time.
Exactly. That's what I'm trying to say. So that's it for on one hand, that's good, because in the CCHI, you manage your time so you can spend a little bit more time with the hard parts of the exam. However, you can also easily lose track of time. And the CCHI exam is very like limited. It's very time limited. So it's something that I actually had issues with. For example, for each portion of the exam, let's say that somebody talks to you for 15 seconds. So they give you 15 seconds to interpret from English into Spanish, which is, of course, a problem. I don't think that not only for Spanish, but for other languages who take longer to say things than English because of expansion. So you cannot say everything at the same pace in 15 seconds because you use more words, there are more syllables, etc. So that was very annoying because I had to speak very fast so the recording wouldn't cut me off. So I had to do that, and that really bothered me. That was one of my issues. But then, and then you have the NBCMI, which is like nonstop. There is no pause, play. The recording, everything starts automatically. You don't even have to use your mouse or your keyboard.
See, and I like that. Because for me, to me, it's more kind of similar to a real interpreting experience. And two, with the CCHI exam, I don't want it to seem like I'm knocking on the CCHI exam. I think both exams have their great points. And, you know, of course, they have their pitfalls. But with CCHI, I felt so silly for like the first like 3 or 4 questions. I'm fairly certain I didn't record. And I think I told you this right after I got in the car, right after I took my oral exam. And I was like, Nanji, I think I missed the first like 3 consecutive questions because I hit the record button instead of the play button. And so I hit the record button before I even hit the play button. And so like I could listen to the utterance, but I had already recorded something, so it didn't really matter. And I was like, ah.
Yes, that happened to me as well. Like I hit the play button when I meant to hit the record. So there goes one of my repetitions, you know, I lost one of my repetitions. So that was a problem. Let me think about the other differences. So we talked about technical differences, voices, the speed, and now
I will say, I recall with the NBCMI written exam, I did that exam in 11 minutes. I did it in 11 minutes because I was working in a clinic at the time, and all the medical terminology was just, I got it, right? The CCHI written exam, I took it online, which the check-in process with Prometrics, oh my goodness. When they make you like roll up your pant legs,
Yeah.
they make you show you behind your ears. And then I pulled my, they make you show underneath your desk with the camera. And I accidentally pulled my camera out of my computer and disconnected myself. And I was like, oh my gosh, I can't take the exam now. I ended up getting it figured out. But the CCHI written exam, even after I finally got reconnected, took me significantly longer. So I feel like the CCHI written exam, it's like you have the hard part at first, whereas with the NBCMI exam, I feel like it was definitely easier at first, and then the harder part came later. So just kind of like flip-flopped, which was really interesting to me.
Yeah, I believe that the NBCMI exam was a little bit more straightforward. It had more clear questions, like clear answers, direct answers, and then the NBCMI actually makes you think a lot more.
You mean
It's
CCHI?
like, I'm sorry, CCHI, because they have a lot of ethical scenarios, a lot more than NBCMI. So
yeah,
you
and you can
really
see
have
this in the outline that they have for the study checklist, that they really are ethics heavy. And I teach medical interpreting ethics, and I was still sitting there with some of those questions. I was like,
yes, making you think, right?
I was really thinking. So that was surprising to me. I didn't think that was going to happen. So.
Yeah, and another thing that you mentioned about before you start your exam, when you do it remotely, they ask you to check your ears, you're behind, and it's just I felt so uncomfortable doing all that. It feels like I'm in prison and I'm going like they're checking me for like, I don't know. It feels very weird. I understand. Oh, it says that my internet connection is unstable.
Oh no.
Am I better now?
Let me see. Okay, now I saw your eyes blink, so you're good.
Oh, okay.
I was like, you're not moving. Are you frozen? Actually, I do think we have a couple of comments.
Okay.
We have one from Gustavo in terms of the NBCMI exam. Oh, yeah. 7 seconds of think time, 6 repetitions total. And then Natalia, Natalia's with us. About timing, it's not correct. Okay, so in terms of CCHI, each utterance is timed separately. Oh, okay. Yeah, because the way that it seemed when I was taking the exam is I had a whole chunk of time, and then I would work on my questions and I could kind of self-pace. But okay, that's interesting.
I think maybe I didn't explain it correctly, because I gave an example about a 15 seconds utterance. So it's like it came across as for each and every utterance you get 15 seconds, but that's not true.
Yeah.
Each utterance has a different length. So if an utterance is 5 seconds, they give you 5 seconds to interpret. If an utterance is 10, they give you 10, etc. It depends on the length of the utterance. But the problem
she says that each language determines the time for the utterances. So it does allow room for expansion. But I did find that for me, I mean, I can definitely rattle off that Spanish, even though I'm a non-native Spanish speaker. But there were like 2 questions where when I was interpreting, it felt like I was like, oh my goodness, like I don't have enough time. So that was just my kind of personal impression. Oh, and then Natalia says that's correct. What I mean is that a 15-second utterance, the length will be 19 seconds. Interesting.
Okay. Well, the time that you have available will vary depending on the utterance. That's for sure.
Of course.
But overall, and I'm not the only one who feels this way, is that when you interpret from English into Spanish, you don't get enough time. And I just felt that way. Other people who took the test felt that way. And it's not my individual experience, but several people have experienced that. And and especially if I compare it with NBCMI, in NBCMI, I was more of a beginner, and I was speaking very, very slowly, and I still had time to say everything. But for the CCHI, I got cut off several times, even if I was speaking a little bit more faster, because I have more experience now. So that was my personal experience, at least.
Yeah.
So Orvilla says the signal has been unstable often, but if we reduce open tabs, that can help. Oh, I'm sorry. That's probably my connection. I'm the one who's live streaming, so it's my internet. I'm sorry, everybody.
Yeah, and Naji, you're You're the person who every time I see your window, every time I see screenshots of anything that you share, it's like, oh my God, Najee, why do you have so many tabs open?
Okie dokie. So let's see. So let's move on to the next question. I think there are many other differences that we will think through as we go to the questions. So which testing process did you like more, NBCMI or CCHI, in terms of paperwork, length, and submitting your documents and all that?
I feel like for me, the CCHI process was easier. Like in terms of getting all of my documentation in, like it has a really nice streamlined process, and I can kind of like see every step of the process. Like, okay, you've approved my, for instance, I didn't go through like a 40, 60, 100-hour course. I went through a college level program for interpretation. And so I have to like provide like my course grant transcripts and everything. And knowing that that was accepted and I got to kind of like see it in a little dashboard was pretty cool. NBCMI, I don't recall the exact process. Like I said, it's been a while, but I definitely remember feeling like, I would like send my stuff and I'd wait and then I'd wait. And I would kind of, I don't know, I think it would be really nice to have kind of like what CCHI had, which is like that dashboard where you really get to see every step. So I was just registering for the exam. I know Nanji, you said with the CCHI exam, because you're a pretty prolific note taker, like you love to take notes. And I felt like I had enough paper, but I'm not sure if it's like a testing center like difference, because they give you like these like 3 packets of or 2 packets of like testing paper, like what you would get in college for, where you would need to write your essays or whatever. So I felt like I had plenty of paper, but then again, I'm not like, I'm not the note taking queen like Najee is. So.
And that was one of the answers to the previous questions, like what were the differences. So I have to say, before we move on to the next question, one of the differences in CCHI, I had to go to a test center. I couldn't bring my own paper, like my notepads that I have here, which I love. I couldn't use them. And they gave me like a leaflet. It's like, they gave me 2, which are like 4 pages, 4 printing 8.5 by 11.
And we
And
got the same thing.
Yes, to me, that was not enough because I take notes of everything. So I'm a heavy note taker, and I had to call the proctor like 3 times to give me the paper. And that was very annoying because first that will make me waste time, my valuable time, which is like, CCHI is more time restricted. And that it will make me lose a little bit of focus as well. Even if, of course, it's not that serious, but when you want to be in the zone, right? You have to be like, interpreting is a lot like meditation. You have to be there, be present, be focused for 30 minutes or more, and no distraction, no asking somebody for paper. You just want to finish your exam and not ask anybody to come to your room. So that really bothered me. And yeah, it was just annoying. And why cannot they give you enough paper? Like, I'm just like this, I have an inner rage because of that, but let's just move on, right?
Well, I do want to say though that, so you're an over the phone interpreter, I'm an in-person interpreter, right? So I think another thing too is that as a remote interpreter, like you're used to, okay, like you have your setup, you have your desk, you have all your stuff there, your supplies. Sometimes when I go to interpret in person, like let's say if I'm interpreting for in-person mental health, I won't be allowed to bring anything in, and I have to make do with what I got, right? Sometimes they give me a golf pencil and maybe like a piece of printer paper, and that's what I'm taking my notes on. So I don't know, maybe it's being able to kind of cope with that for me is been one of those things that I've maybe had more experience with, just being in the field, just kind of like being handed like a napkin and told like, okay, you can take your notes on that. I don't know.
Yeah, exactly. I will definitely, no. I need my paper. Just give me my paper. I will have my suitcase. Don't separate me from my paper. Me and my paper, we love each other. That's just no way. But everyone is different. And I can see Natalia, she's saying that for security reasons, it's 2 sheets of paper.
Yeah.
Then you need to return, and then you'll be given 2 more sheets of paper. Okay, that's understandable. In NBCMI, I was able to have my own paper. I had like a huge chunk of paper like this, and they were fine with it. you know. I just had to show it to them that it was like clean, not written or anything, and that was good enough. So if you're a remote interpreter, that's something to consider. So going back to our question now, I wanted to share, Kelly, about the testing process. I actually meant like the process to take the test, like the papers that I have to submit
Mhm.
and all that. So I actually liked NBCMI a little bit more. It is like you say, like you send your papers and then you wait. Then you wait. In NBCMI, I'm sorry, in CCHI, I feel like there is a lot of reading. You have to read a lot of the steps, and then it's like so much to read. And then in NBCMI, it's more condensed, like only like you have to know that you have to take 1 or 2 steps or so, and then you move forward. Like I feel like the NBCMI process in terms of submitting paperwork is a little bit more easy, more clear. And also something that bothered me is that CCHI will send me emails and updates, and I'm like, okay, but when am I going to take the test?
But I
Like
like
so,
that.
yeah,
I
I
liked
don't know
that. I like
because
I liked being informed of like the whole process. And
Mhm,
also too, like, I don't know, I feel like the CCHI process of like uploading all of your documents and everything honestly kind of reminds me of like onboarding with an interpreting agency. And I do that all the time. It's so maybe that's another thing too, is because I'm so used to like submitting all this paperwork and stuff that it's just like a normal, natural, everyday part
yes.
of what I do. Like I onboarded with a new agency like
Mhm.
2 weeks ago, I think. And I'm just like, okay, cool. I got to send all this paperwork. I'm cool. I got this. Reading through my contract. All right. So maybe that's what it is too, is
Yeah,
this
that's
is really interesting. Like, because since you're a remote interpreter and I'm an in-person interpreter, how like our experiences kind of mold our experience with the exam too.
yes, exactly, exactly. I felt with and also with NBCMI, I was able to pay directly with my credit card. With CCHI, I couldn't. I had to find like a workaround with PayPal or something because they wouldn't accept my credit card.
Oh, because
I think it's because I'm outside of the US, so that's
yeah.
something that I don't know. I just felt like, oh my God, so much paperwork. In NBCMI, it was like, oh, okay, I just submitted, and then and when they send me an email, it's like something, okay, we have moved forward. We have actually done something. You have to take action now. There is something that you have to do. And CCHI will send me emails that I was really like, okay, it's good to know, but just send me the information like when I need it because I cannot be reading my emails all the time,
I
you know?
do want to say that I do really like the hashtag add CCHI promo that they
Oh,
have.
yes.
That
Mhm.
was really cool. And I didn't even know about it. And then when I paid for my exam, they actually went ahead and automatically gave me a refund and informed me of the add CCHI thing, which I was like, all right, I wasn't expecting to save that money. And that made me really happy. So
Yes, I like that. I like that it was like 50% off if you have a certification with NBCMI. I don't know, it was cheaper for us, and I really liked that. It was very cool with CCHI. And I also liked, let me think. I was going to say something else, but I completely forgot
it's my
about
fault.
it.
I'm sorry.
No, it's okay. Oh, that CCHI, I read the requirements, like what proofs you need to submit. And I feel like CCHI accepts a lot of proofs. Like there are different things that you can send. And they even talk about if you're a refugee, how can you send your documents? So they're like
That's
very flexible in terms of the documents that you can send. With NBCMI, I felt it was a little bit more restricted, the type of documents that you could send. So I imagine that for somebody in a difficult situation, maybe CCHI might be better. So let's see.
I think we
Um,
have a question. It looks
okay.
like from Angela Cara. Which languages are you working with most at the moment? So I'm assuming that's our working languages. So Nanji and I are both Spanish and Spanish English medical interpreters.
Yes, I only work in English, English, Spanish. Yep, those are our language pairs. So let me see. We talked about the written exam. We talked about the oral exam, right? So are you going to renew both of your certifications?
I don't see why not.
Okay, we're going to
Yeah,
renew both.
I just kind of feel like it's silly to get double certified and then let your certification lapse and then go through the whole process again. Like, why would I do that? Just keep it just keep it up to date, right?
Yeah, just renew the and yeah, and I also like that CCHI is very active in the community in social media, Instagram, Twitter. They have this amazing webinar for trainers, or how they have a program like training webinars for trainers. I don't
That's
remember very well.
NCIHC.
NCIHC.
Yeah, that's
Yes.
a different organization. NCIHC's membership fee pays for itself with those CEUs, y'all.
Yes, exactly. But I thought NCIHC and CCHI were like associated, like they were like, I thought that IMIA, like NBCMI came
It's
from
part of
IMIA,
IMIA, yeah.
and NCIHC came from, and CCHI came from NCIHC. That's what I thought.
Not sure about that. I was never under that impression, but I could be totally wrong.
Yeah, I always associate them, like the two of them, to me, they're like together. One is the association and the other one is the certification. But anyway.
Natalia says they are not associated, but.
Oh, okay.
I was like, I've never heard of that before, Nanji. I will say, so for CCHI, oh my goodness, I was going to say something and then I totally just, se me fue la mente. Well, you say whatever you want to say, Nanji, and I'm going to think on what I was about to say.
So which one, the next question, which one would you recommend people to take, NBCMI or CCHI?
That's a really hard question.
Okay.
I mean, I honestly think, like I said before, I really feel like what CCHI tests on versus what NBCMI tests on, they kind of place emphasis on like different things. And I think you need both of those things to be a good interpreter. So I think my answer to that is take whichever exam is going to serve you best in your career as a medical interpreter. For instance, in my area, there's a local hospital that they actually require you to have CCHI certification. So in that case, obviously it would make the most sense for someone wanting to work in that hospital to get that certification. However, do not limit what you study, what you work on to the content of the interpreting exams. Always strive to better yourself, always strive to, learn as much as you can, not just about medical terminology. I really do like the fact that CCHI puts such an emphasis on ethics and standards of practice, which we know Kelly's a bit of an ethics nerd, but I really think that really learning the medical interpreting codes of ethics, there's three of them, three of them, not just NCIHC, there's IMIA and there's CHIA. Those are the three that both NBCMI and CCHI ask you to be familiar with. Really knowing those codes of ethics and working through ethical scenarios has really helped me to grow as an interpreter. So not just limiting yourself to medical terminology, not just limiting yourself to ethics and standards of practice, but kind of studying both of them and really engaging in continuing education in both of those arenas is really important. So whichever certification is really up to you, but what those exams test on, you need to know all of it, CCHI and NBCMI.
Yeah, I agree with that for sure. Yeah, I definitely agree with that, especially because I think I agree with you. We should know both our ethics and our medical terminology. They are equally important. For example, me as a remote interpreter, at the beginning, I cared more about the medical terminology because as a remote interpreter, you don't get those ethical dilemmas as often as in-person interpreters. So I was very focused on medical terminology, but then I realized, okay, but ethics help me be more professional, help me manage the session, help me solve issues that arise during the interpreting encounter. Like when it's just the way that you handle yourself and how you handle the situation is ethics. All of that is ethics, is a standard. So you really need to know that. And that's if you lack a little bit of like medical terminology skills, if you're very good on ethics, you're able to compensate by knowing how to ask for clarifications, how to be polite, having good soft skills, knowing how to manage the session so it's more comfortable for everyone involved.
But you have to say, and I know I kind of split it up into two parts, which is ethics, standards of practice, and medical terminology. But there's also a really key part that I think everyone really, really needs to work on is laws and regulations. Because I will tell you, really knowing those laws and regulations inside and out, not just at a very superficial level, really knowing them really helps me as a medical interpreter. And it really helps me like in an educational capacity. I get so many opportunities to educate providers, which I know that's something that you and I differ a lot in, you being a remote interpreter and me being an in-person interpreter. And I really try to take advantage of that as much as possible, including the other day when I had that provider who didn't know a lot about remote interpretation. I took that opportunity to like, hey, here are some tips for working more effectively with remote interpreters, even though I'm your in-person interpreter today. But really knowing those laws and regulations is really going to help you, because then you're going to know, okay, well, when does a patient need interpretation? When does a patient not need interpretation? Things like that.
Exactly. I think that the ethics and standards and the laws are the things that help our profession move forward.
Yes.
Right. Not the medical terminology on its own.
Mhm.
So Natalia says, of course, I have to mention that CCHI certifications are accredited by a third party, while NBCMIs are not. That's true. I think NBCMI lost its, I think it's the NCCA, the National Commission of Certifying Agencies, something like that. So NBCMI used to be accredited by them, and they lost they basically didn't continue to pay for that certification, so they don't have that anymore. And CCHI does have it, so it's like another layer of certifying a certifying institution,
Clout,
you know.
I suppose. I will say though that like not to be like devil's advocate here or anything, because I definitely value both certifications. Obviously, I wouldn't have gotten both of them if I didn't value them. I think just given the fact that one, like the places that often utilize interpreters don't even understand the difference between a certified and a qualified interpreter, one. Two, they don't even understand a lot of times the difference between the two different certifications. And I'm not saying that it doesn't matter. I'm just saying that, it's just something to consider. That's all. So just trying to, I don't know.
Yes, and I also wanted to add something, Kelly, is that going back to what you mentioned about getting both certifications, I recommend everybody to get both certifications if you can. Of course, we all have different geographic and financial circumstances. For example, I had the privilege to travel to the US and get my CCHI certification. Not a lot of people can do that. So if you're a remote interpreter and you cannot travel, I will recommend to get NBCMI, for example. If you can get CCHI, that's even better. Please do so. And also, I think it's good to get both because from my point of view, I believe that CCHI and NBCMI exams are very, very easy. And I know a lot of people may disagree with me. I know that a lot of people fail the exam. I was seeing the statistics, and 50% of people who take the oral exam fail. And I know we have those statistics, and then I'm here saying, oh, it's too easy. Like it doesn't seem to adjust to reality. But I believe that coming from a place of working with like real encounters, I think the level of difficulty between the exam and the actual work, it's very, it's a lot. So I believe if I have somebody who just got certified and then the next day they're going to work, I wouldn't believe like, oh, this person is able to do everything. I believe they just have a beginner level, a basic, like the really the minimum to interpret. That's what I think. And I would really like to see having higher levels of certifications. Like, for example, you and I, we are studying dialysis, right?
Oh my
in our
gosh.
interpreter study guide.
That's the reason why I was a little bit like behind getting Zoom started, is because you and I were really, really delving into that terminal. I was drawing you pictures. We were,
Exactly.
and that's the thing, is certification, it brings you here, right? But then your own studying, continuing education, things like that, that's really an experience, of course, is what's going to bring you up further. So certification is just the beginning.
Exactly. Certification is just the beginning. And I wish that, for example, for medical interpreters, what else is for us to aspire after getting certified? What else can we do? We can maybe get a master's degree. We can get a PhD. But I mean, in the job, I think in real life work, everybody relies more on the certification part of it. And I wish there was like a more like a level 2, level 3 advanced level of certification, or certification for dialysis, certification for oncology. So, you are well prepared. I know this is a lot to ask because you have to develop exams,
Yeah.
and you have limited languages. And I think there is a lot to improve, at least for the exam to really represent what somebody can do in a real life encounter. I wish it was a little bit more complex, more representative of the reality of a medical interpreter. Okay, so, well, it's been 40.
I
Yes.
see we have some questions. Let's see here. So someone was asking about whether this is going to be recorded. This will definitely be recorded. So it's going to be saved on our Facebook page. And also, I believe, Nanji, you were going to upload it to our YouTube channel as well, right?
Yes, that's right. We're going to upload all of this, and it's going to be on Facebook and also to YouTube. So it's going to be there for everybody to watch. And lastly, let me see. Do you have any advice or tips for people preparing for the CCHI and NBCMI exam? Like, how would you recommend them to prepare?
Well, gee, InterpretMed has these wonderful study guides that we prepared. So, you can always subscribe to InterpretMed, and we really try. Oh my goodness. We developed a whole bunch of like new exercises, like really intense, especially for the written exam, because I kind of like took the head on the written exam study guide. You took the head on the oral exam study guide. Really, really good materials to kind of help you prepare. And it was really funny because I prepared the written exam study guide, and then I took the CCHI written exam, and I was like, oh, preparing that study guide, even though I teach this stuff, actually helped me so much. So obviously I'm biased, and I'm going to mention our study guides because we put a lot of work into them. But I mean, what else would you say, Nanji, for like practicing for the written and oral exams?
Well, I think, like you mentioned, doing the InterpretMed study guides, because we have a written exam and an oral exam, it has a lot of material. And of course, for me, before I founded InterpretMed, I actually studied with MCA, Medical Communication Ambassadors, and CCCS, Cross Cultural Communication Systems. I bought their books, like big books, and I studied a lot. I practiced every day.
I have one of them right over here.
Yeah, and I studied a lot with those books, and I practiced every day. I recorded myself, and I was like, then I will hear my recording and compare it to the script, like a written script, which is very useful.
Yeah.
And then I will see how can I improve. And I was also working, so I really work hard. I will spend 6 hours working every day, and then 3 hours in the early morning studying for my certification, because I wanted to be over prepared. I didn't want to fail. I didn't want to like fail and then have to pay again to take the exam. My pocket couldn't handle that. So I really had to, it was like a must for me. So being diligent, practicing is just all, and being very patient, being kind to yourself. It was very frustrating for me at the beginning to see like, oh my God, why I cannot remember. I know that trachea is translated this way, but for some reason I cannot do it. Like, if you're going to reach that point of despair and frustration, but you have to move forward past that point and really, really make an effort, right? If other people have done it, you are able to do it as well. So
yeah, if me, someone who is a non-native Spanish speaker, can learn Spanish later on in life and then become a medical interpreter and become dual certified, come on, y'all, we can do this. We got this, right? And I think someone was asking about the difference between certified and qualified. So would you like me to talk about that, or did you want to talk about that, Nanji?
No, it's okay. You can do that.
Yeah, so certified means that you've passed at least one of the major certifying bodies exams. So for NBCMI and CCHI, they both have a written and an oral exam. So certain languages have an oral portion, such as Spanish, which is one of non-GNI's working languages. So to become certified as a Spanish interpreter, either a certified medical interpreter through the National Board of Certification for Medical Interpreters, or a certified healthcare interpreter through the Certification Commission for Healthcare Interpreters, you have to pass both of those exams to get your certification. So there are different levels of certification based on whether you just passed the written exam or passed the oral exam. So a qualified interpreter is an interpreter who's completed, at least in terms of medical interpreting, is an interpreter who's completed a medical interpretation training course, at least, that's the bare minimum of 40 hours. However, a qualified interpreter can also be, for example, me, when I graduated from college, I went through at Virginia Commonwealth University, the Spanish English Translation and Interpretation program, or the CCHI program, which was a 27 credit program in Spanish English translation and interpretation, had a specific component for medical interpretation, specific component for legal interpretation and translation. So you become a qualified interpreter once you have completed relevant, applicable training for medical interpretation. NBCMI and CCHI kind of have a little bit of a difference between what they consider to be a sufficient prerequisite for taking their exams. So qualified means you have training. Certified means you've passed your certification exam or exams. Now, does inherently being certified make you a better interpreter? No, not necessarily, but it's kind of like a level of proof, right? Like you can go around saying like, hey, like for instance, let's just use the times that we're living in right now, COVID-19. You can go around saying, hey, I don't have any of the symptoms of COVID-19, I don't have COVID, but having that COVID test saying, hey, like PCR test saying, hey, I'm negative, I don't have COVID, that's proof, right? So that's like the difference there is, your word and your training versus your word, your training, and you've been tested on it to prove that you can perform at least to a minimum level.
Yeah, that's a very good comparison. That's exactly. Yeah, that was very good. So it's been, oh my God, I'm so happy that everybody joined. Gustavo, Natalia. I didn't expect Natalia to be here.
I didn't expect Natalia either. That was so surprising.
Very good to see her and to have her input. If we say something that is not completely correct, you can always like let us know. Please. Right? We're just like chatting, talking about our experiences. Orville, Jenny, everybody was so nice. This was a very nice
between my windows here. Who do we got? Oh, look, we got 24 comments. Oh my goodness.
Yeah. Yay, so see. If you have any questions or comments, feel free to leave them now because we're going to like stop the live stream in about 5 minutes or so. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Thank you.
I was just gonna say, like, we were literally working on that dialysis like translation right before we got on here. So like you and I have been like in the thick of it today, haven't we, Nanji? Like all day, just you and I. Kelly in Virginia, Nanji in the Dominican Republic, just working together.
Yeah. International love.
Yes.
Okay. So this is very good. Miriam, everybody. So keep an eye on our social media. We are going to have hopefully more of these Q&A sessions. And thank you, everybody. I'm going to end the live stream now. Bye, everybody. Bye.